Across the Imperium, few names carry such weight as Harkonnen. It is a name of power and cruelty, spoken in fear and hatred. Yet long before it became a curse, it belonged to simple families on ancient Earth. To trace its path is to uncover a tale of exile, betrayal, and vengeance that shaped empires and toppled dynasties. How did this single bloodline rise from obscurity to rule with terror? And why did their name become so infamous? Let's find out together. The first Harkonnens came from Suomi, the land later known as Finland, under the shadow of the Russian Empire. Their name, Harkonnen, carried the strength of oxen and the endurance of stone. From this frozen land came a people who valued survival above all. That instinct would echo through the centuries. When humanity spread beyond Earth, the descendants of Harkonnen joined the Exodus. They were not kings nor visionaries, but miners and traders, carrying their stubborn will into the void. Among the colonies they sought fortune in ore and stone, laying foundations not of honor but of commerce. Slowly, they rose from peasants of the north to merchants of the stars. By the time the League of Nobles brought fragile unity to the stars, the Harkonnens were already weaving a modest empire. Their wealth grew from ventures on dangerous worlds, most notably Hagel, a planet rich in metals. The family patriarch Ulf Harkonnen and his wife Katarina commanded ships, miners and haulers. They dreamed of greatness, yet their fortunes would change in fire and steel. Above Kaledan, the Harkonnen ship carrying Ulf and Katarina, along with their children, was seized by Cymex, remnants of the ancient machine lords. Ulf and Katarina were dragged away in chains, their fates sealed in servitude to mechanical masters. Their son Piers was jettisoned from the ship, his body burning in the skies of Kaledan before vanishing into the seas. He was presumed dead, a lost heir swallowed by the ocean world that would later become the cradle of House Atreides. Their other son, Xavier, survived, however. Taken to Salusa Secundus, he was raised not by his blood, but by Emil and Lucille Tantor. On the League's capital world, Xavier grew into a man of iron discipline. At 19, he earned command at the First Battle of Zemir, rallying broken troops to victory against Cymex led by Agamemnon. His lungs were ruined, replaced with Tululaxa organs, but his name carried honor, and his star began to rise. During this period, Xavier courted Serena Butler, the daughter of Viceroy Mannion Butler. With her, he fathered Mannion the Innocent, the child whose death ignited the cult of Serena and fueled the jihad. After Serena's death, Xavier married her sister Octa, binding Harkonnen and Butler lines. In fact, their children would one day give rise to the Corrinos themselves, and Xavier's bloodline would be represented on the throne for millennia. In the Great War against the Machines, Xavier rose to the rank of Primero, serving beside Vorian Atreides. Initially, they had been rivals for the affection of Serena, but the trials of war bonded them tightly. Together, they fought in the liberation of Ix, the Battle of Anbus, and the atomic bombardment of Earth that ended Omnius Prime. Their bond was close, one of respect and friendship. Harkonnen and Atreides, before their age of rivalry, stood together for the survival of mankind. But corruption festered within humanity. Grand Patriarch Iblis Ginjo was secretly profiting from Tlulaxa organ farms and betrayals masked as machine raids. Xavier uncovered the truth whilst aboard a ship with the Grand Patriarch and, deciding he could not allow these atrocities to continue, even if it meant losing his own life, set the ship on a collision course with the Thalim star, taking Ginjo with him in a blaze of fire. In that sacrifice, he rid humanity of a tyrant. Yet politics twisted the tale, and history would brand him a traitor. Ginjo's allies remade the story. In the public retelling, Ginjo became the martyr and Xavier became the assassin. His descendants were shamed and abandoned the Harkonnen name to live as butlers. Only Vorian Atreides knew the truth, carrying it like a burden. He fought to clear Xavier's honor, but the tide of lies was too strong. In the eyes of the League, the name Harkonnen was forever disgraced. Years later, Xavier's grandson, Abulurd, served directly under Vorian. loyal and earnest, he listened in awe when Vorian revealed the truth of his grandfather's death. To honour Xavier, Abulurd cast off the butler name and reclaimed that of Harkonnen. In those days, he and Vorian were close, master and protégé, and for a fleeting moment, it seemed the stain might be washed away. In 88 BG, the last machine outpost remained on Corrin. Vorian commanded the League's fleet with Abulurd at his side. In orbit, they found the Bridge of Hrethgeir, millions of human captives chained in pods, wired to explode if the fleet advanced. Vorian gave the order to attack, but Abulurd refused. He could not condone the slaughter of innocents. His defiance set destiny in motion. Confined for disobedience, Abulurd broke his bonds and deactivated the fleet's weapons. The League still won, but the victory was drenched in blood. To many, he was a traitor. To Vorian, he was a coward. The trust between Atreides and Harkonnen, built over generations, collapsed in that instant. Mercy became disgrace, and friendship became enmity. Abulurd stood trial. Some demanded his death, but Vorian argued otherwise. Death would end his shame. Instead, he decreed the name Harkonnen must remain, a mark of cowardice carried forever. Emperor Fakan Corrino agreed. Abulurd was exiled to the frozen world of Lankavale. Thus, the feud was born, carved into memory by judgment and exile. On Lankavale, Abulurd's children heard the story not as mercy, but as betrayal. Their father taught them that the Atreides had stolen his honour. Hatred hardened into inheritance. From icy seas and cruel winters, they learned bitterness. Every son and daughter of Abulurd grew knowing their enemy by name, Atreides. After Abulurd's death, his son Durdos declared the rise of House Harkonnen. Though a minor house in the Landsraad, they fashioned themselves rulers of consequence. They built wealth from whale fur, squeezing profit from cruelty. Fear became their creed, and ambition their fuel. From exile and disgrace, a dynasty was born. Years later, Abulurd's great-grandson Griffin pursued vengeance directly. In 4 BG, he tracked Vorian Atreides to Arrakis, finally catching up to him amongst the Fremen. The Fremen Naib demanded the feud be settled through single combat. Both men agreed, and blade clashed against blade, each strike echoing with years of hatred. Griffin fought fiercely, and at last, Vorian lay defeated at his mercy. Griffin, however, chose to spare Vorian, declaring the feud ended. But fate mocked his choice. Machine-born twins who had been sent to hunt Vorian in the desert instead intercepted and killed Griffin. Valia, his sister, believed Vorian responsible. In grief and rage, she swore vengeance everlasting. Her hatred carried the feud into a darker age, and mercy was forgotten, setting in motion centuries of intense rivalry. Valia wove vengeance into every scheme, while her sister Tula carried bloodshed to Kaledan itself. The Atreides suffered in shadow, struck not by open armies but secret knives. The feud became blood-right, binding the two families in endless enmity. Whatever chance for peace there was had died with Griffin. Centuries passed, yet the feud never dimmed. Harkonnen daggers struck at Atreides' envoys, their ships blockaded Harkonnen trade, and assassins crossed paths in darkened courts. No single victory ended it, for vengeance always begot vengeance. The feud became a cycle of betrayals and plots, echoing through the generations like a curse neither house could escape. Through bribery, intimidation, and ruthless political manoeuvring, the Harkonnens clawed their way upward in the Landsraad. They gained contracts, monopolies, and alliances of convenience. Their coffers swelled with wealth from industry and slave labour. With each century, they crept higher, until at last they stood among the great houses, feared rather than respected, but powerful all the same. In time, they claimed Giedi Prime as their seat. Once a fertile world, under Harkonnen dominion, it became a poisoned wasteland. Rivers blackened, skies filled with smoke, and vast factories devoured the land. It was not only conquest, but transformation. A planet remade in their image. From this world of fire and ash, the Harkonnens ruled as tyrants. On Giedi Prime, fear was perfected into governance. Public executions, torture chambers, and betrayal ensured obedience. Soldiers were trained not in loyalty, but in cruelty. Slaves laboured under whips, and families bowed beneath terror. The Harkonnens taught the Imperium that fear lasted longer than love. The Corrino emperors valued such ruthlessness. Where subtlety failed, the Harkonnens delivered results. They became Imperial enforcers, their brutality rewarded with favour and wealth. In the courts of Kaitain, their name was whispered in dread. Fear was enough to build power. At last, they were granted stewardship of Arrakis, the desert world of spice. With control of melange, their wealth surged beyond measure. Every shipment that left the sands tightened their grip on the Imperium. Arrakis was the lifeblood of the Empire, and the Harkonnens held it with cruelty unmatched. On Arrakis, their tyranny reached its height. Spice workers collapsed beneath the suns. The Fremen were slaughtered or enslaved. Villages burned, their ashes scattered in the winds. Yet so long as spice flowed, the Imperium turned away. Arrakis was their crown jewel, a throne built upon suffering. In the desert, the Atreides would come to meet their ancient enemies again. The feud, born at Corrin, found its final battlefield on Arrakis. Every act of Harkonnen cruelty deepened the divide, and both houses moved inevitably toward collision. From this legacy rose Vladimir Harkonnen. Cunning from youth, he climbed over rivals with manipulation and murder. His cruelty became legend even before he ruled. When he claimed the Baron's seat, he reshaped the house in his image, bloated in flesh, sharp in mind, and merciless in ambition. Under him, the Harkonnens reached their zenith. Vladimir forged secret ties with Emperor Shaddam IV, poisoning the Emperor's mind, positioning the Atreides as traitors lying in wait to steal his throne. Together, they devised a trap to destroy House Atreides. Arrakis was given to the Atreides as a prize, but hidden Sardaukar waited beside Harkonnen troops. When the blow fell, Duke Leto was slain. Paul and Jessica fled into the desert, and the Harkonnens reclaimed Arrakis in triumph. Yet this triumph would prove fleeting. Paul rose amongst the Fremen, wielding desert power no Harkonnen could crush. His armies shattered theirs. Alia struck down the Baron, and Paul killed Feyd-Rautha, ending the line of succession. Centuries of cruelty ended in fire and sand, their dynasty broken. With Paul's victory, Arrakis was lost forever. Giedi Prime was freed from tyranny, its skies cleared, its factories dismantled. The surviving Harkonnens dwindled into obscurity, stripped of wealth and dominion. Their name endured, but only as a warning. The great house built on fear was undone by its own cruelty. From Finland's frozen soil to Arrakis' burning sands, the Harkonnens carved a path of blood. They had not begun as enemies of the Atreides, once fighting side by side for the sake of humanity, but the stain of injustice, the shame of exile, and the bitterness of betrayal festered until hatred became inheritance. Across centuries, that fire only grew brighter, shaping empires and changing worlds. Their rise from exile brought them power, yet cruelty consumed their strength, and an endless need for vengeance ultimately sealed their fate. For 10,000 years, the feud with the Atreides had chained their destiny, until at last it destroyed them. What remained was the truth that no empire, however vast, can survive when its foundation is built upon hatred alone. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more great stories. Cheers.